Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I Am More Than Enough, hosted by me, Elvis Kaberuka. In my introduction, I highlighted the reasons why I was looking to start this podcast. And a quick summary, it's a podcast on self-discovery, growth, and healing. And I wanted to start this episode by being very vulnerable. And I've been trying to find the best way to articulate or to start off with this message. But I figured, what other way to be vulnerable than speaking from the heart? Yes, I've written some notes down and written some key point takeaways. But after a deep reflection and taking time to meditate and get myself ready for this space and to communicate authentically, I figured, honestly, I can talk about my sobriety without having to read on the notes because everything is in me, at least this part of the story, this part of the communication. So I will start by this. The moment I got to decide to become sober and to begin this journey of sobriety, because I truly believe by beginning the journey of sobriety is what led to me truly wanting to heal, truly wanting to grow, and truly wanting the best for myself that I can truly give myself. Something strange, something new, something that I'd never authentically lived or practiced. At least I thought I had, but honestly, looking back, I can't say I did. And that beginning was when I hit rock bottom. I heard it beautifully stated by Shia LaBeouf that rock bottom is when you choose to change. I always thought rock bottom was when things fall to the ground and you hit to the rock, to the bottom of the bottom, and you decide to start climbing up. But no, it was so clear and it resonated with what the journey had been going through. That it was the moment I decided to change. And that moment did not come easy. Honestly, that moment was not by my willpower. That moment was not due to courage. That moment started when I had an honest conversation with my roommate. It was sometime in May. It was sometime in May in 2020, right as the pandemic was starting to really get serious, right when I knew and it was starting to sink in that I cannot just walk out of the house and just escape and just go distract my mind to try to save it from itself, because there's so much chatter and so much mental wars that were going in within. So he sat me down. I remember I ran upstairs and I went to his room. I knocked. And come to remember, it was around 10 a.m. in the morning, and I believe I was still tipsy. Had I been drinking that morning? Honestly, I don't know. Was it from the night before? I honestly do not recall. But he sat down, looked at me, looked through my soul, and asked me, "Hey Elvis, do you remember what you did last night?" And in that excited mode of, man, party, because, it's Saturday, I'm kind of used to that, getting myself fueled up to go do something to kind of get the weekend started. And I told him, yeah, I kind of know. Yeah, we were drinking, watching some movies, blah, 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 had some edibles and yeah. That's what I remember. It's like, no. And he looked straight in my eyes, in my soul, for lack of a better word, and said, "Elvis, there's some people who should drink, and you're not one of them." And for the first time, those words hit. For the first time, those words got to me. Not that I lacked awareness of it. I was struggling. I was aware that I was struggling, but I kept convincing myself and lying to myself, "Why tomorrow will be the day. Tomorrow will be the day." A lot of folks close to me had mentioned it to me. Hey, man, maybe chill with drinking, It had gone to a point where my brother would mention it to me, and it wasn't the first time I'd heard it. It gone so bad where my parents were recognizing it, where I would make phone calls and I'm not aware that I'm tipsy or that I'm intoxicated, And I'll just get into this high, this escape, because I felt when I drank, it kind of escaped and kind of drowned that either sadness or trauma or whatever it is I was trying to get away from. So it hit me like a ton of bricks when he said that. And I went downstairs with shame and as though somebody had seen me clearly and I'd been hiding for so long. And it was very, very clear and unsettling. It took me about 3 days to really decide to make a change. My drinking did not stop. I was drinking wine at that time because I convinced myself, hey, wine isn't that bad. But the way I was consuming wine was not a glass, relaxing. I was chugging it, I would get a glass, chug it, and I'll find myself getting a bottle, drinking half to convince myself it's okay. Then I pour the other one out. Just very chaotic, and in my mind things were going very, very fast. Kind of like back in the day where you could fast forward a movie on a VHS. When we could forward movies, it kind of felt like things were moving so fast. And I was just not even a witness, but I was kind of being sucked by this wave of just chaos. It's what it felt like. So it took a few days. I kept drinking and putting it and hiding it away and, thinking, he's not seeing my tipsiness or something. And I remember this one day, it's probably the third day from that conversation. I was out of wine. I woke up and I think I went to probably get my first bottle of wine maybe at around 12 p.m. Or after work, I don't even remember the times. I went, I got it. When I consumed it, my body rejected it. I puked it out because my gut had been tired from just constantly consuming alcohol. And I just get frustrated because I'm not getting the buzz. I think I remember I went, tried to get another bottle. Same thing happened. I was just frustrated. And the other substance I was struggling with, which kind of felt I convinced myself would calm me down or create an escape, was marijuana that I struggled with at that time. I smoked, and then towards the evening, I figured, okay, I'm going to do one more time. Maybe this time will be the end of it. And I went. I remember I got the bottle, another bottle, consumed it. Not the whole bottle, half the bottle, puked it. And I remember it was dark in my living room. I came so quickly and consumed that bottle without even turning the lights on because I just wanted that high, that escape. And I remember to myself puking it out, and I'm looking at the neighbor's house. It's lit, seems peaceful. And I'm just like, how did I get to this? Because I've always had a sense of awareness to myself and a sense of knowing that I'm meant for more, but I allowed myself to sink so low and I could not get myself out of it. And the so-called, spiritual practices or things that I was doing to get myself better were mute. I don't think I was practicing them. I don't remember the last time I prayed. I don't remember the last time I authentically meditated or done anything to help myself have the best state of mind and be spiritually grounded. And mind you, I felt so caged in because this was during the pandemic and everything was shut down and I wasn't moving a lot, wasn't seeing a lot of people. It's like the world had forced me to sit my behind down and to sit with myself for the first time, where I had no escape, where I could not run away from myself and I had to face myself. And I remember that moment when I sat down and, not when I was puking, actually. I just cried out. I said, God, I just can't, man. I just can't. This is too much. I just cannot. I'm struggling. I just can't. And I remember I went to the living room. The lights were still off. I sat down and had a clear vision of going to a nearby river. A river that I had gone on to for hikes, for meditation. It was a river, a park near where I lived by, to go meditate, just go for a walk, to just be in nature. Something I'd done to, it was something I enjoy. I love nature. I enjoy trees, but I hadn't done it in a long time. So it became clear that day. I said to myself, I'm going to go there tomorrow. I'm going to go surrender myself totally. Surrender everything to God. Everything, because I can't. If I keep moving like this, I am going to die. I am going to die. And it was extremely clear and very, somewhat liberating, a little sign of hope, a little glimmer of hope that maybe this may be a way out. So I remember, if I get a bit emotional, excuse me, because I'm kind of reliving those moments. So I remember I woke up that morning, I probably hadn't slept well, did my meetings at work, just got in my car, went to that park. For whatever reason, that day seemed empty. I don't think there was anybody that I saw that day. I went to that park and I just remember the walk. It kind of felt like I was a little kid walking to my father's arms, having been lost and having been so helpless for so long. And I just went there and I just cried. I just cried my soul out. I just said, God, I just can't. I can't anymore. I can't carry this burden anymore. I've tried, and I'm tired of deceiving myself. I'm tired of deceiving the world, but more so deceiving myself and hurting myself continuously. I just cannot continue like this. And I remember that day, for whatever reason, maybe the night before, actually the night before, I'd say to myself, I'm going to go lay everything down to God. As like a song I used to like back in the day, a few years ago, I'd listen to Kirk Franklin. And there was a song called At the Altar. And it kind of, it pulled me, because it said at the altar you can go and leave it all to him. And it felt powerful, I said, okay, as I'm crying and crying, I'm on my knees and I'm like, God, I'm leaving everything to the altar. And I just visualize myself getting this big dirt of big black heaviness. And I just let it flow down to this river, just flow down and just let it go. And I loved how the river would go down. It kind of looked like a waterfall to me, but it felt like it was just going down because there was rocks and tides. And I just let it, I just visualized and looked at myself letting it go. And I cried till I couldn't cry anymore. Nobody came by, nobody stopped by. As though it was a divine appointment for me to be there at that time. And I remember I drove home kind of feeling like somebody who's tired, who's been from a heavy workout, from a heavy load of, something. I remember walking to my car, going home and just being quiet that day, being quiet. And I remember I went to sleep that day. And when I slept, I had the best sleep of my life. I don't remember waking up even one time. And it's something I hadn't done in a long time. There's no disturbances. I woke up feeling rested. I just opened my eyes in the morning, looked outside my window, and it looked like as though I was seeing it for the first time. I was hearing birds chirp. My house is at a very beautiful end of the road. Behind is kind of a little forest. There's always beautiful sounds of birds singing, but I'd never paid attention to it. And I listened to the birds sing and hum. And for the first time, there was no sound in my mind, in my head. There was no voices. There was no wars. There was no voices of insecurity or voices of lack. There was nothing. There was just nothing. I did my routine, got myself ready for the day, and I walked out to my living room and I just sat down. And I just felt with so much gratitude. And I just prayed and I just thanked God for saving me, for liberating me. Yeah, for the first time, it felt so freeing, It felt so liberating. As though I'd been caught, as though I'd been received, as though I'd let go of so much, as though I was turning a new leaf. And I remember that day was May the 28th of 2020. I'll never forget that day. Felt like a rebirth. I always look down celebrating that day whenever it arrives, because it reminds me how far I've overcome to where I'm at. And I just sat there quietly for a couple minutes, just listening to nothing, to the birds outside, to looking around and just being grateful of everything that I have and everything that's in my life. And I say to myself, how about I just play that Kirk Franklin song? But I'm like, no, actually, let me just play Kirk Franklin. So I say to my speaker, hey Siri, play Kirk Franklin. And the song that played was At the Altar. But before it played, I say to myself, it would be spooky and quite creepy. Maybe beautiful, maybe spooky and creepy, maybe the best words would be, but yes, I was like to myself, if that song played, then oh my goodness. And that song played at the altar, and man, I just cried again, because I felt I'd been received. I felt my prayers had been answered. I felt I'd been caught. I felt I'd received that love that I was always looking for. And man, oh man, I remember it played, and I just felt a sense of peace. And I was like, you know what? Let me go look at my phone. What are the odds that song plays? And I remember I had purchased the Kirk Franklin album, or had streamed it or something, or but I had it in my library. I went and looked at my phone. I searched Kirk Franklin, and that was the only song in my library. The only song. I'd had his album. I forgot the name of the album. I'd had his album but that was the only song that was there. And I was like, to my amazement. So everything kind of aligned, And it's funny, I like to always connect the dots. When I was rehearsing and practicing what I was going to say for this first episode, as I finished typing down my notes and what I was going to say and craft it, I looked at my phone and had Kirk Franklin on. And I have not played Kirk Franklin in quite some time. So I love when those moments happen. whether it's divine timing, this divine, something divine, but I would say it was divine timing. And I felt even more sure about doing this because I know a lot of us struggle. A lot of us have struggled with trauma, with pain, with so many hurdles in this life. Suffering escapes no one, you know. When I look at my community that I'm from, Rwanda, I consider myself a community of this planet, of the world, but I have to acknowledge where I'm from. Because specifically, there I've been noticing and seeing a lot of young men, young kids. I'll call them kids, not that they're kids, but anybody who's younger than me, I'll tend to call them a kid. It's just a loving term from me. Seeing them suffer with substance abuse, being lost, and using drinking an escape of drugs and other substances, be it sex, you name it, as an escape. And they're drowning, and they look for a similar group of people who are in pain just like them, because they will judge each other least, or you fit in because you're all hurting. And I'll honestly, introspectively looking at myself, looking back, that's what I was looking for. You know, I was looking for people who are looking to just party, drink, escape, wake up, do it again, you know, and then go throughout the week, accomplish my work in zombie mode, just looking for that escape, you know. So looking at myself back then and how helpless I was for so long, you know, being so lost in ways I never ever contemplated. I never ever saw myself being a person who was a slave to drinking, slave to drugs, slave to all kinds of addictions, to partying and just escaping. But I'm seeing this more and more, you know. When you are of sober mind and you're able to walk into the world and are present, you're able to see it, you're able to see that suffering and not judge, but just take it in. And a lot of us come here with no tools or no awareness of this new wild world we're getting in, because our parents most likely have never been here. So that society we've come in is so sheltered. And now we're coming and taking on so many responsibilities and so much freedom that we don't know what to do with. And once you start sinking, you don't know how to come out of it, or to live your best and be your best, and hopefully be the dream that your parents hoped you would be, or be the highest version that you know you can be, you know? So that's a lot of us, to be honest with you. I've had so many friends, I've had so many people come to me thanking me for helping them. And I've been so lucky to mentor a few young men who've been vulnerable to come to me and help me. But I figured, why not amplify this and share it on a higher level? Because I know I'm not the only one, you know? I'm not the only one who goes through this. So many people around the world have so much trauma, whether it's wars. Where I'm from, Rwanda, yes, we've had so many wars and so many scars from the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. So many scars that have wounded so many people, and those wounds continue to pass on, whether you were into it directly affected as a child, as a grown-up, seeing people die, or seeing the aftermath of wars, or even kids who were born after, getting that trauma transferred down to them. And so you're living not knowing what brings you down. You're not, because we never take time to dig deep and heal those wounds, you know? So we tend to be, at least in my personal experience, you're always thriving to do a check mark, go to school, get married, fit within society, have a nice career. So you're doing these things to just fit in. And there's a shame of being vulnerable. There's a shame of showing your pain. And man, substance abuse is a huge issue in our community. And I'm not pinpointing only Rwanda, to be honest with you. My message is to whoever, because I know this suffering is to everyone. Everyone goes through this, whether it's the African American community that I've been with here in the US for so long, that I've seen suffering, Native Americans who, my goodness, have endured so much suffering. So this suffering is worldwide. It's a human experience. So that's why I want to share my story, share my tools, because it honestly did not just start by me surrendering. Surrendering was the absolute first step to begin this journey. Surrendering was the first step for me to say, all right, I'm going to put my first step in front of me and then go from there. And hopefully I'll get there. But it took work. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take you allowing your ego, the self-identity you've created. And we don't know a lot of this. That it's an identity that's been formed in our minds, whether it's through domestication of our parents, our schools, our societies. You're formed, and you have to create this personality that can just survive, that can exist in these communities. And a lot of times you may go through life not ever knowing yourself. So it's going to take you destroying that, not necessarily destroying it, but undressing that part of you and redressing it anew, by doing work and doing things you've never done before, going to uncomfortable, charted waters, So there's so many, there are steps I'm going to share in the next couple of episodes, because I don't want to go through them now one by one, because there'll be too many, and I want to explore them each individually and give them their time, and hopefully over time bring in guests that can help amplify this. But it's going to take you, first and foremost, doing total surrendering and accepting that you are suffering, that you're struggling, that you cannot live like this anymore, in service to yourself, or in service to your community, or in service to society as a whole, but first and foremost in service to yourself. Because believe it or not, you are a whole world. There's so much complexity that goes into one individual human being, that if you cannot cultivate, heal, and allow a rebirth of you, of yourself, then it's hard to spread that healing, that love to your fellow neighbor. Believe me, it doesn't, because it's empty if it's coming from a place of sadness or emptiness. So my goal and my hope is to share this, to continue to be vulnerable along my journey and the tools that I've used, so we can, I don't want to say I can, so we can all grow, heal, and perhaps help not only ourselves, but help our community as a whole. So I want to end by saying this, that what you've been through, whatever struggles you've been through, whatever pain you've been through, is absolutely validated. And that you have more in you than you can ever know. You have so much strength and so much untapped potential than you can never know. Believe me, I had no idea what I had in me. And that's why I think we are more than enough. Just being enough, I don't think suffices. You are more than enough. So it takes a lot of courage to get where you are. It takes a lot of courage to listen to my message, as painful as it is may be, because a lot of us may not want to hear this truth. Believe me, I never wanted to hear this truth. And if I could go back and talk to my younger self, the one that was lost, this is the conversation I would have with him, So I want to thank you for taking time to listen to this first episode. And hopefully, I'm inviting you to come to my second episode. where I'm hoping, not necessarily hoping, looking to talk about acceptance. What is acceptance? It's a simple word, but it means so much. Acceptance. And to congratulate you because you are still here. From everything that you've been through, but you're still here, says a whole lot about you. Says a whole lot about you. And you can persevere even way more and climb even higher by just allowing yourself to heal, be patient with yourself, and above all, loving yourself wholeheartedly, unapologetically. Until next time, have a blessed one.